Well, welcome to the Play Creators Conference. I'm Steve Pasierb. I get the honor of being the president and CEO of the Toy Association in the United States. We're based in New York City. And I've also got the honor today of facilitating an amazing panel on a subject that's probably near and dear to a lot of our childhood memories, and that's Fisher-Price. We've got an awesome panel that you're going to hear from. We've got Kevin Crane, who's a principal designer of infant toys at Fisher-Price. We've got Rod Hageman, who's a toy designer also at Fisher-Price. And we've got Pete Cartlidge, who's a director at Fuse London. And that company and Fisher-Price have got a long history of working together. For the purposes of this virtual panel, we will not be using the new Fisher-Price My Home Office playset, although it seems somehow appropriate in these crazy days in which we live. What this panel does try to do really is kind of add on the celebration of Fisher-Price's 90th anniversary. And I think probably it's really a perfect fit for a Mojo Nation conversation because this is a company that's really built on the concept that the world needed better toys. And 90 years of doing that is clear proof. Really, every moment of that 90-year history has been built on the imagination, the creativity, the drive, the spirit of the designer and inventor community. So from its founding back in 1930 to today, we all know, touched tens of millions, probably hundreds of millions of childhoods along the way. And in fact, one of the interesting things is Fisher-Price is the first brand to use the phrase preschool toys, and actually did that back in 1934 and coined that phrase. So Billy Langsworthy at Mojo Nation has kind of given us an assignment to delve into what is the life of an in-house designer like at Fisher-Price, and why is this a great brand for which to design. We're also going to try to cover why our panelists think the brand has endured over the decades, and what in their view is the key elements of creating a great Fisher-Price product. We're also going to touch on licensing, because it's really amazing how licensing has become a big part of Fisher-Price. What's a good fit, what isn't a good fit, and what are some of the big wins in the IP space over the last many years. So we'll dive right in, we'll get started. Maybe we'll jump over to Kevin first. And first off, maybe we'll go around the horn. Each of you tell us maybe how you got started in the toy industry and what you do now in your current roles. We'll kind of ground there, and we'll start off with Kevin.
Awesome. Hi. Yeah, I guess for me, it was, it's my second job. So I went to Ohio State, and I was introduced into the industrial design program in high school. It seemed like a good fit for me because I always loved tinkering and creating and doing all those kinds of fun things, but I also loved drawing too. So, getting into that, my first job was in St. Louis, and I was working on amusement park rides. So I worked for an architectural firm that was the primary firm for the Anheuser-Busch parks, so like Busch Gardens and SeaWorld. So I worked on rides and attractions for them, which was a lot of fun. I never saw myself doing that, going to school for industrial design, but it was a really good fit because it was fun. It was about experiences and bringing entertainment to people. So I did that for about 4 years, and I kind of was at a crossroads, and I was like, I can either continue down the path of exhibit design, or I can get back into the heart of what I went to school for, which was like product design. So it came about, I wanted to get a little closer to home. East Aurora is only 3 hours from Cleveland, where I grew up. And I sent my resume in, and lo and behold, it was a really good fit. Everything that I showed in my portfolio that was around theme park design and storytelling and all of that, it really resonated with all of the people at Fisher-Price when I interviewed there. And they could see that I was a really good fit for what I was going to bring to the table. I had never really done any product design yet, but they knew they could see the leap that I could bring to the toy experience and storytelling when it comes to toys. So that's how I got to where I am today.
Very cool, very cool. And if there's ever a Fisher-Price land, you get to design the roller coaster.
Yes, exactly.
Let's pop over to Rob and get your perspective on what it's like and what brought you to Fisher-Price.
What brought me to Fisher-Price was actually in high school. My high school art teacher was very good friends with a toy designer from a different company at the time. And he came down and he gave a talk about developing action figures. And it was like this epiphany for me. Like I never realized that there was an actual career in making just action figures and toys. And it was happened to be one of my favorite movies when I was little, was RoboCop. Not too little, because obviously it's rated R, but I was like, I can't believe that you actually make RoboCop toys for a living. And it set my entire career path just like full steam ahead, like right from my freshman year of high school. I asked him like, well, how do you become a designer in the toy industry? And he's like, well, you find an industrial design program. So I went to the Cleveland Institute of Art. They have an amazing program. From there, they actually worked with companies that would come down and do in-house projects with the students. So Fisher-Price was one of the companies that actually came down and gave like an introductory class into how to design toys. And through that mentorship program, I fell in love with Fisher-Price, and I knew very early on, like, this is the only thing that I want to do. So just like Kevin said, during the interview process, it's a perfect fit. Like, I just gelled with everybody. Like, you have this synergy and you just click. And it's 20 years later. It's like, wow, this is amazing. I couldn't ask for a better job. I'm still so happy after all these years later, it's great.
It's always amazing when people say, you've got a full-time job in the toy business? Like,
Right.
What planet are you from? And it's like, I've always thought we need to get everybody out on the college campuses and telling those stories. You're in business school, but go do the books at a toy company. Yeah, you're this. Go do that at a toy company. You'll have a lot more fun than the plumbing products business. Trust us.
Yes.
Definitely.
Let's flip over to Pete. What was your journey that brought you here? And obviously Fuse London is an amazing company.
Thank you. Similar to Robin, to Kevin, my background was an art background. I kind of studied art and design. In the UK, you do what's called a foundation course, where you do like a discipline of lots of types of artistic sort of skills. So it's a good grounding. I love drawing and making models and tinkering with things like that. And then as I got into university, kind of starting to lose my way a little bit. I did product design and industrial design, and was kind of really starting to figure out, well, what am I going to end up designing that's fun? Because it was kind of moving towards very domestic things like kettles and things like that, which didn't really excite me. So I kind of came out and I actually did another master's course, which was all about computers, because around about the time everything was starting to become computer-aided design. And I was really starting to think I'm kind of losing like all the kind of love that I had for getting into this industry. And then I moved to London, and the first job ad I applied for jumped out of the page. It was model maker required for toy invention company. Just this tiny postage stamp sized advert just leapt out of the page. And I thought, that's what I want to do. It sounds fun. It's design and it's making models. And I went and had the interview, loved it. I was working for the invention house that created the Polly Pocket brand. So basically every day I was making mechanisms. I was making Polly jump, dance, fly, spin around. And that was what I did every day with about 15 other guys and girls. And it was just the most fantastic introduction to toys and what that world can be, albeit with one brand. But they also invented other products there, and that's I kind of migrated into that part of the business, and fell in love with the process of inventing toys and licensing them. And I've moved away from the actual hands-on side of things, which I still love, but the far more competent and capable guys that work for me now that are so much better at that than I am. But it's great to still be part of this industry.
Very cool. Well, now we've established the fact we are four very lucky people
Yeah.
to be able to do what we do every day with our lives. I mentioned up at the top, the 90th anniversary of Fisher-Price. A lot of brands do not endure that long. So let me throw it out to whoever wants to grab this one. What is it about this brand that you think caused it to endure? I mean, the world has changed multiple times over the last 90 years. We've had world wars, we've had everything, yet Fisher-Price has always been there in the lives of children.
Yeah, I'll kind of start off there a little bit. A lot of it goes back to our founder, of course, Herman Fisher. With what he had said, Fisher-Price toys should have intrinsic play value, ingenuity, strong construction, good value, and action. So I think those words have resonated with all of us still, and we're constantly reminded what that can bring to the party in regards to the products that we bring forth. So so we surround ourselves with talented people that work very well together. One of the things that I love about this place is that I don't have an answer for something, or if I don't have an answer for something, I usually know who to go talk to, and I can get those answers, which is awesome. We surround ourselves with so many talented individuals. I sometimes have to pinch myself, and it amazes me, the family that we have and the knowledge base, and the fact that I've been here for, what have I been, 23 years or something like that. And I'm still learning something new every day. And, you know, for what we're going through right now with our current environment, it's amazing how we've all pulled together and we never missed a beat. We stuck together. We figured out how to make things happen during our time at home and trying to work from this environment. And it's amazing. I mean, this place is really cool how we come together. And then the last thing I want to mention is that you never know where good ideas are going to come from. And years ago, we came up with this thing called MixFair, which some people might be familiar with. But MixFair is a place where any person working for Fisher-Price can introduce an idea or a concept that they have. And we set up all these booths, and it's kind of like just a big show and tell, if you will. And we introduce ideas, and it can come from the audio department, or it can come from consumer affairs. And everybody gets to look at it, evaluate it, and we've actually had some items go into production that came from MixFair, which is pretty neat. So.
Yeah, very neat. So I think we're learning now culture really matters, particularly now that we're all working at home, looking at screens. And if we didn't have that culture behind us, we'd be kind of falling apart now. Rob, how do you take that forward in your years at Fisher-Price as you look at carrying on that legacy?
Yeah, I can't stress Kevin's point about culture. And it's amazing for such a large company. There really isn't like the egos that you would expect. Like MixFair is a prime example of that. Like any idea can come from anywhere. And there's absolutely no reason why we can't do that as a company-wide base. So the fact that no one is a stepping stone, and it is like this open culture to just accept other people's ideas, is fantastic. When I first started the job, the person that was guiding me was the same person who taught the class at the Cleveland Institute of Art. And again, it was just instilling in that younger generation what it meant to be a designer at Fisher-Price. And it wasn't like I was never seen as a threat. It was like, bring this person up to the level that they're at now. And I think that's what, like, Kevin and I do that today with like the younger class that just comes in. Like, you have to almost remind them of how to play with toys before you even begin to design them, because it's so important. I mean, like, as you're playing with your kids and you're exploring the idea of storytelling through your own toys, like, it just makes you that much of a better designer. So it's culture, and it's competitive, and it's fast paced, but man, is it fun. And when you hit on something big, it's fantastic. It's
very cool.
Yeah.
So Pete, you've obviously got a little bit different perspective. You've been in the industry. You're both, you work very closely with Fisher-Price, but you're also on the outside. So what would be your take on all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think my first memories of the brand are really from being a kid. And, a kid in the 70s was, that was kind of a golden era for toys. And, when I was watching TV commercials, anything with Fisher-Price, it just instantly struck me like, these people know how to make toys. When you go and see them in the store, just simple things like the sculpting, the articulation, the packaging. It was like, these guys really get it. And like every toy that I had, I just kept it for a start. I knew it was going to last for a long time. I knew it wasn't going to fall apart. And I had some of the great ones. I had, a lot of the Adventure People stuff from the 70s, which was awesome. Those action figures were almost like the first action figures I ever played with before I played with licensed characters. They kind of, just the way the hands were sculpted and their heads and everything was just, the attention to detail was just awesome. So I think that was my first interaction with the brand. I was like, these guys know, these are good quality toys. They're well made. They know, there's play at the heart, and there's, ingenuity at the heart of every toy. And then as I've got to work with them professionally, I think you realize where, where that DNA in their toys comes from. It's like, you're working with a company. It's like working for a great big family, or working within a great big family. You know, it's when you go to their office and you see the museum. You know, it's a heritage brand. You know, there's so much that people care about. You know, East Aurora itself is just this, you know, fantastic little quaint place just outside of Buffalo, but it's almost kind of like a mirror of the brand itself. It's pristine, it's really beautiful, and everybody cares about it. It's really well looked after, and you know, you're just walking around the place and you're smiling. It just seems to be an infectious place to live and to work, and you know, that's been my experience every time I've been there. And it carries through with all the people, and you know, as an outsider working with that business, you know, we've been always welcomed. Our ideas have always been welcomed. There's never been any sort of, you never get the feeling that the inventor community is kind of has to work harder, because all the designers and the marketing people that you work with, they just want the best ideas, and they want to help you get your idea in if they like it. And it then becomes a collaboration, a true collaboration, to get that product to market. So I think they're my sort of abiding memories of the brand, and they continue to each day, you know.
Very cool. You know, that's an interesting point. You know, Pete talked about, even as a child, kind of, you know, noticing the sculpting and the articulation and what made that product so special. You know, guys, what is it about Fisher-Price? What do you put into a product that really differentiates it? What does it need to do? How do you look at how that product needs to delight or educate or engage a child? You know, what's part of that secret sauce, if you will?
Yeah, I'll start off there. I'll
Okay.
kind of set the tone with one of the greatest tools we have is our Play Lab. Just kind of getting into that, the early childhood development that we're always after. I work on the infant team, so it's all about you know, infant learning. But our Play Lab is fantastic. It's filled with all these child experts, and whenever we have toy ideas, we can take them down and test them with kids, and we'll usually instantly know if we have a winning idea. Whether it's us testing with the kids or talking to the moms, we get really good feedback, and we'll know if we're going down the right path, which is really good. So, and then of course, you know, our latest motto, you kind of mentioned it, the surprise factor. We say surprise and delight currently, and we've been trying to instill that in everybody's you know, task at work now, whether it's through the product or the packaging or social media. But surprise and delight is the unexpected. So when you're playing with a toy, what are those things that you didn't quite notice when you bought it on shelf, but once you started experiencing that toy, it just kind of popped out at you in an unexpected way, whether it's a texture or a mechanism or whatever it is. It's the unexpected, and that's what delivers more and keeps the consumer coming back to us. So
Very cool. Rob, I mean, you know, we talked a lot about culture in that history. How do you kind of bring that forward?
So, well, for me, I'm on the Imaginext team, so we're all about big transformation. And as Pete would know, like, it's all about the mechanism. And I think the secret sauce for Imaginext is you have to be able to empower the child to make this extraordinarily incredible transformation happen, but like with a turn of a dial. It has to be preschool appropriate. It has to be super easy, but that moment has to be bigger than life. So when you can empower a child to have that kind of like play feature at their disposal, and it's accessible that they can actually do it, you have an instant success in your hand. And the thing that I love is that if you can take like an older age property and sort of like boil it down to just its core, so like Batman could be, you know, potentially like a dark superhero, but you can actually make it preschool appropriate and then empower the child to have that superhero moment through the mechanism of play and the mechanism of Imaginext. And when you take, like Kevin said, when you take that down in the Play Lab and you see kids actually play with the toy and feel empowered, it's a great moment, and you definitely know you have a winner.
yeah, you're going down the right path then.
Absolutely. Like, and all of a sudden, all the kids want to just play with it. They don't want to take turns anymore. They hoard it for themselves. It's like, that, man, this is gonna be a great toy. For sure.
And what is it? You know, Pete touched on it. What is it about a Fisher Price toy? Billy Langsworthy and I were talking this morning that there's a lot of preschool toys out there. There's a lot of infant toys out there from a lot of different sources. But when you're at a show or whatever, you can almost tell Fisher Price from other products. There's something in it that kind of goes, wait, that's got to be a Fisher Price product, or that just has the look, the feel, the touch, whatever it is. Is there something there?
It's the details. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, like even all the way down to our audio and our content, it's just top notch. We've got some awesome people working on all these things. Even the way it's delivered to the market with the marketing, it's a well-rounded machine, if you will. Like I said, we have a lot of talented people here that I love working with, and it's amazing how this stuff comes together at the 11th hour. And we just keep going.
Yeah, and I do think it's really important that you get that spectacular Try Me on shelf, but then you make sure as a designer that is not the only thing that this product is going to do, because I don't want it to do a one-trick pony. I want to surprise and delight you on shelf, but then when you take it home, I want a whole nother host of features and exciting moments that you can really explore when you have the product out of the package. I think that's really what makes Fisher Price special, is that we are allowed to go that extra mile to make sure that this toy is going to have longevity, because you don't want to experience it on shelf in the store and then you get it home and that's all it ever did. That is like half of the recipe.
Yeah, it's well beyond just play value in the generic sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Pete, you hit on it. Obviously, it impressed you as a child, and it still impresses you today as an adult. When you're talking to outside designer inventors about what it might be like to bring an idea to Fisher Price, what part of that do you capture for them? Because obviously, these guys have lived it and breathed it and done it for 20 plus years each. How do you introduce somebody new to the Fisher Price way of thinking and designing?
It's a great question. I mean, when people join our business, they usually join out of school, or they've come from another design position and they're intrigued about designing toys. And when we interview them, we say, forget about designing toys. You're going to invent toys here. You're going to create them. You're going to create something that nobody's done before. That's going to be original, and it's going to be unique. That's different to designing. And then when we start to show them the brands that we want them to invent for, so we introduce them to a brand like Little People or Imaginext, and you start to explain to them, this is what this brand means to kids. This is what it means to parents. This is how the marketeers market this brand. And these are the product values of the brand. And when they get all of that information, they start to, their ideas for a brand like Imaginext will completely shift to all about, an unexpected mechanism, like Rob said, or something that's, just, wow, how did that happen? And it's like, that's kind of how we drive our designers to think how, the Imaginext brand, as an example, thinks, because that's our experience of working with the Imaginext team has been, you get so much dialogue. They tell you, this is what the consumer is expecting. This is what the kid's expecting or wants. And this is, they kind of go into great detail, very happy to share all that information. So it's great for us as an outside group to then, have a pretty good idea about what solutions might work. And, when you start to see the ideas come back from our design team, you go, that's an Imaginext idea, or that's a Little People idea. You just, you become kind of, it really hones your thinking in terms of, what are the solutions that those brand teams are looking for? And, spent a long time working with Rob and with Kevin more recently on the infant brand. And that's really what you get. When you start working with Fisher Price businesses, what you get in return is you get a rich dialogue, which is so important. It's basically like the blueprint. And yeah, we still got a lot of work to do to invent to that blueprint, but you've got a much better idea when you're working with the guys and their marketing counterparts. So it's a great experience. It was a great journey to go on, and it's great when I've been fortunate to see an item of ours in the Play Lab and being tested, and it's such a wonderful feeling. You know, I think it's nice when you see a product on the shelf, but it's amazing when you see it for the first time being experienced by a child in those circumstances. So yeah, it was, that's something that will live long in my memory, seeing the Play Lab.
And how about when you see something you worked on in someone's shopping cart?
Yeah.
When you're at the store, you're like, I did that.
That is the best feeling, man.
You have to hold yourself back, though.
You want to
Yeah,
stop them in the aisle at Target and say, hey, by the way.
Yeah.
That actually happened. Like I saw a kid, he got to pick out the item. Like you only get to pick out one item, and he picked my item that I worked on, and it was just, I so wanted to be like, thank you so much. I hope you love it as much as I do.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it is an amazing feeling.
All right, I'm gonna put you two guys on the spot. Not to make you feel old, but you know, you joined the company and people were talking about Y2K. All right, and we're a long way from there. What has changed in your mind over that 20-year or 23-year journey at the company? Is everything the same? What's different today in your Fisher-Price reality?
I think for me, where I started off, I mean, initially I just wanted to create toys that I didn't have when I was a kid. And it was a very narrow window of thought, really. And, you know, Fisher-Price is a global company. You have the opportunity to reach out to kids all over the world. And you have a responsibility to create toys that are, you know, obviously culturally appropriate, but you have such a wide audience of kids that you can influence with great toys. Like the toys that I grew up with are so near and dear to my heart. I would just love to be in anybody's memory like that. You know,
right.
if they don't know who I am, just the fact that I could help somebody else like through a difficult time or like explore play in a different way. Like I still have all my toys. Like I love them. I love them. I love them. They have this sentimental value to me. And I hope that somebody down the road will have the same feeling about something that I worked on.
I know it's crazy. Like when we talk to a lot of the parents today that come in to visit us, they grew up as kids playing with things like Rescue Heroes, which I worked on. I'm like, no.
I know. And you think it would be a cringy moment at first, but now I want that so bad.
Yeah.
Like I remember like some of the older designers who were like, oh my God, like this kid like played with the toys and now we're working together. Like how's that even mathematically possible?
Yeah,
but
right.
It's like, now it's like, oh, I can't wait till that next batch of designers come through and they're like, oh my gosh, GeoTracks, like Imaginext, like
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, a lot of it too is like I love the difference between like in Y2K versus now is just where we are technology wise.
Oh,
what the technology has enabled us to do, you know, in you know the virtual world and creating whether it's through CAD programs or renderings that look photorealistic, and even what we can afford to put in our toys from a technology end. Like for example, Linkimals, which was, you know, one of my latest lines, that we can have toys that talk to each other. We can never afford to do something like that way back when. It was unachievable. And we're finally there. Technology and costs have finally become obtainable, even like the introduction of the RGB LED. So we can now illuminate things, all different kinds of colors where we couldn't do that before. And what that's brought to the toy industry is just amazing, and how we can deliver storytelling and content to our end user. I love it. I love the technology part.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't you think the world would be a much better place if everyone kept their toys? I'm looking behind myself. It's full of model airplanes and stuff because that's what I did with my allowance when I was a kid.
Yes.
Bought model airplane kits.
And I'm so glad you have all that stuff still.
Yeah. Rob, from your perspective, working with designers and inventors, these guys have mentioned some of the products that have really kind of you know stick in their memory. Are there some that you've worked on that really pop for you?
I mean, yes.
I'm sorry. I meant for Pete. Sorry, I was I was looking at Rob and talking to Pete. That's the problem with the Zoom.
Pete will give you a great answer. You're going to be really excited about this answer.
I mean, from our point of view, we've been lucky to license across multiple brands within Fisher-Price. And you know, I think any of the Batman Imaginext. Oh, I think my son's coming in to say
There's the
hello.
kids now.
Yay!
There you go.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I'm just on a call
Hello,
right
hello, hello.
Hello.
What's this?
Hi, guys.
What's this? What's this? What's with this lad button?
Yeah, I'm talking to these gentlemen.
Hi.
About
This
toys.
is doctor.
Yeah,
He's not a doctor.
I like your
This
glasses.
is like
All right.
doctor.
See you in a bit. I'll see you in a minute. Hold on.
Sorry.
It's all right.
It's okay.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
the
There you
world
go.
we're in.
That's what it's
why
all
we're
about
here.
right there. That's the most important thing right there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. They all played with Fisher Price toys, by the way.
Good.
No, it's hard to pick one example. I think, yeah, like I was just about to say, I love the Batman series in Imaginext. That's a, you know, I know it's one of your questions, Steve, was which license really popped with the brand, but I think that there's a real, you know, that one really resonates. And Fuse has actually, I think we've licensed more IP into with DC brands than anything else for some reason. And we just kind of click with Batman. But the most exciting toys have been within the Imaginext line. So there was one where we had a vehicle that as you pushed it, it kind of clicked a detent on the bottom, and it popped it, and it turned into like a sphere or like a drum. So you push it along, and then this thing would pop, and then it turned into a drum, and then it rolled. So for a kid, that's pretty mind-blowing. You just push a vehicle along, and then it kind of pops and turns into a drum and rolls off. And Imaginext, I remember pitching that in the meeting, and I think it was to Rob Bauman, and he just like, yeah, we're doing it. It's the only question is which character is it going to be in
Yeah.
DC? And, you know, but he knew straight away, it's like, oh yeah, we're doing this item. That's not what I'm thinking about. The thing I'm thinking about is which character it was. So it ended up being one of the sort of nemesis characters, like Mr. Freeze, I think.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze, yeah.
And that was a cool item. It wasn't particularly celebrated, but I mean, for us, it was just really well engineered. They kind of got it straight away and did a great job of executing it. More recently, we worked on the Rescue Heroes relaunch. We've just done some Little People stuff, and actually, we're spending quite a lot of time working with Kevin's team right now on infant preschool and baby. Sorry, so. The team there just did a deep dive with our whole team of designers was invited to I think it was like a 3-hour session where we sat with designers, engineers, people from Play Lab, safety, it was this massive Zoom call. But for our guys, it was such a privilege to kind of get all that, intel on how to design for that group. And, I think that's going to pay off richly with the solutions that you're going to see from us. And, it was a great example of how that team were willing to share and impart with us a lot of the information on their side, which helps them design. And now it's up to us to come up with some good ideas. But they're all cooking along nicely.
Excellent. Rob, you wanted to grab that one. So,
Well, no, I was going to say Batman is by far the most fun to work on because you are essentially on his payroll creating all of his tech. I mean, you get to weaponize all of the cool things that Batman does in a great way, So for me, I agree with Pete. Like, Batman's by far the most fun because you can just go, the sky's the limit. It's whatever you want Batman to do, whatever power you want to give him.
is that the one out of your years there that right now sticks in your memory, or is there one that is your favorite, like Pete pointed out?
No, yeah, DC all the way for me.
DC all the way.
Then maybe Jurassic World because
Okay.
dinosaurs and Batman. I mean, come on.
Dinosaurs, yeah.
I mean, Batman has a dinosaur in the Batcave, so I mean, it all works together.
There we go. And Kevin, how about you? What are the ones that in your journey are the ones that are nearest and dearest to your heart?
As far as licenses?
Licenses or product?
Oh, products in general. Well, the big feather in my cap was the Laugh and Learn smart home. That was like my biggest item ever. It was like $150 retail. So it was quite a challenge to develop that one, and then to finish off the season with winning a toady on that. It was awesome. It was my first toady, and it was awesome. So that's probably my biggest memory, my biggest feather in my cap. So
Very cool. You know, this is obviously, here we are, we're looking at screens at each other and stuff. How has what's going on in the world affected your work in either a good way or a bad way? I mean, obviously you can connect with a lot more people a lot more quickly, but on the other side, you're not in the room touching, feeling the product, batting it around. So for your guys, how are you coping in this field during this time, and what's different?
Well, I mean, for me, you know, again, the technology is great. It's enabled us to continue on and develop meaningful product, but I do miss the people. I'm like, oh, the one-on-one. I mean, Rob literally lives around the corner from me, but I never see him.
It's the social aspect of the office for sure.
Yeah, it just we finally got the okay to take things into the office and kind of like do like little baton handoffs, you know, to review concepts or review models that come in, which it was finally nice to see the office again. Like for me, it was a week ago. But it's so weird. It's like a ghost town.
Yeah.
So, but you know, we're finding our way, and I can't wait for, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel here. I feel like we're getting there. But I sure miss the people. It's the culture.
Yeah. On the Imaginext team, it's such a collaborative process. I'm sure Pete could maybe have similar feelings, but I mean, like when we design stuff, we're all in the shop together. Like we actually like to like physically make the models or make the mechanism, and like you're learning as you're going, and then people are chiming in as you're building, and there's always a better build than where you're currently going. That's right there, like right in front of you, that you should have seen. And you know, your coworkers are on the next bench over, and he's looking at it. He's like, dude, that would be so awesome if it just did this. And you're like,
right,
that is brilliant. Yeah. So as great as it is, I have my bandsaw, and I have a whole bunch of old toys that I slice up like in this office at home. I still miss working with everybody, because you can always make something better.
Exactly. Does that resonate for you too, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for us in the UK, we're now kind of, the restrictions have eased sufficiently to allow us to go back to the office pretty much full time. So, I mean, it's, you know, we have to be mindful of social distancing, but for us in a much smaller shop, you know, it's easier to do that. And it's so nice to just, as the guys have said, just to see you know, the guys again, and you know, for them to all be able to riff on ideas, and you know, be in the shop. And you know, I've been going in anyway during the lockdown. It's just eerily quiet. You know, workshop with no people in it, no music is pretty desolate. So it's been great to have, you know, the lives come back into it, and then you know that the concepts will follow. But one benefit for us, and it's kind of linked to the technology, is, you know, the way the directorship works at Fuse is we got one of the partners lives in LA, one of the guys lives about 200 miles north in the UK, and one of the other guys is actually trialing, sort of working from home this summer. And so they don't get as much time as I do with the team day to day. And through this whole Zoom thing, because I was doing lots of firefighting from the business type of thing, you know, banks and all that sort of stuff. And I was distracted from the day-to-day creative and stuff. But it meant that those guys got to do, you know, daily calls with the creative team. And, you know, they've really enjoyed the kind of privilege that I have of seeing those guys every day and seeing what they do, and working together with them. And, you know, so it's brought the other founding partners closer to the creative team. You know, that's been a good bonding exercise for the company. And one which I know will continue, you know, long after lockdown's gone. You know, we'll still probably have these Zoom calls where everyone chimes in, because they've ended up being fun. We got creative with them, and we do dress up and, you know, have drinks and things like that on a Friday and stuff, like crazy quizzes. Yeah. So we turned it into a social thing.
Excellent. All right, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but Rob or Kevin, is there anything coming down the line, or anything that's right there that you can talk about that you're excited about? You know, I don't want to like give any secrets away to the competition or anything, but what's next for Fisher Price? Any cool things you can speak to?
Sure. We're really excited about our partnerships with Minions and He-Man and DC Super Friends and Jurassic World. So, I mean, we have a lot on our plate coming up, and it's going to be a really awesome next couple of years coming up for us. So
All licenses, yeah.
all licenses and yeah, but always skunk work projects in the background too. So
Cool. Cool.
it's gonna be really fun. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and for infant learning, you know, it's just implementing meaningful technology to help the kids learn easier and better. And I think we're doing a really good job of bringing a lot of fun content into all of our toys now, which includes even a little bit of humor, which that's what I'm really enjoying now, is the additional humor that we're putting in toys now. So
Cool.
other than that, I can't wait for fourth quarter and see how our babies do.
That's the proof
Yes.
point.
Me too.
What happens in the fourth quarter? Are we all still unemployed as a result?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I come from the marketing side of the world. So one of the things I like is what you've done with the Let's Be Kids campaign as a company, and the idea that, you know, we've all kind of we all need to be playing, and we got to get the grown-ups to grow down, if you will. So let's kind of end at this point. You know, beyond Fisher Price, just for you as a person, how do you really define that magic of childhood playtime? Of that time when it isn't about homework, when a child just gets on the floor and takes your toy and maybe takes it to a place you never imagined. Anybody?
Rob?
Nobody wants to go first.
Well,
Kevin will die.
Kevin, why don't you go first on this one?
Yeah, well, again, like just seeing how the kids play with our stuff in Play Lab, it's so meaningful to see them engage in everything that we do. And it makes our job so worthwhile to really see a kid just engrossed in the entertainment that we're providing. And to see us make a difference in their lives it just makes all the difference in the world. And not only that, is now we, again, with where we are today with technology, I love reading comments. You know, we go on to Amazon and we can see moms' reactions to toys, and it sometimes helps steer us down different paths too, in regards to how we develop in the future, as far as what is resonating and what works well and what isn't. You know, just being able to see firsthand how people are reacting to our toys and how their babies and preschoolers play with everything, it helps us, you know, further down the line in what we do, so we know what works and what doesn't. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rob?
I think for us, I think. Sorry, Rob was going to answer.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No,
Pete.
go ahead. I want to hear what you're going to say. I'll piggyback off of both you guys.
No, I was just going to say, I think I'm really excited about the future for toys. And, you know, I think if anything, it's been reinforced by this experience over the last, 4, 5, 6 months. You know, I think, parents have had so much more time with their kids. And, you know, they've had time to play together, to understand which things really which things they really enjoy doing, and also which things they can participate in. I mean, I think there's going to be a whole new, hopefully a whole new era of toys where, you know, parents are involved, you know, whether it's games or, you know, educational toys, you know, things that really, you know, sustain a child's attention, and also engage, you know, include the parent as well. I think it's an exciting opportunity for products which more than just a single child can play with. And then also technology, you know, platforms like TikTok. I mean, what's that going to mean for toys? Because it's essentially just a platform to allow kids to show off. And we know that kids have enjoyed showing off their toys with unboxing videos. So I'm excited to see how, you know, platforms like that on social media are going to further allow kids and consumers to kind of show off what they've got and, you know, what they really like about a new product. So yeah, they're things that are really exciting us. Unfortunately, it all revolves around having a great product or a great feature in a toy. So yeah, we're focusing on those things to make sure that, you know, our toys are the star of the show.
Cool.
Yeah, both of those answers were fantastic, by the way. No, I think just to piggyback off that, I think you know, having parents have the ability to play with their kids, and if we can create toys or play sets or features or action figures that help enhance those stories, I think that's all you could ever ask for, right? Like that's probably like the key to success, is you want to give your kids the objects so that they can create their own stories and in ways that they, you know, maybe I'm not even intending, but that is really what it's all about, is just unlocking their imagination and giving them the confidence and the success to just play, right? Like, learn how to play with your kids, because it's great, man.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I think we figured out one thing here for sure. I mean, Fisher-Price may be an iconic brand, but it's truly blessed to have three people like you guys working on these products and doing all this. So I appreciate you very much. Thanks for putting up with me looking at 4 different screens and not always looking at the right one at the right time. Any last thoughts anybody wants to throw out there before we wrap up?
I love working with all you experts. This is what takes us further, honestly, is just the meaningful relationships across the board when it comes to the whole toy industry, really. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us. And it's fun when you have to actually try to verbalize how important this job means, like to your being. You know, it's like it's hard for me to describe or put into words exactly how important I feel this job is. And I appreciate your time. And
we don't have to verbalize this every day. And this is different for us.
I just sort of mumbled about. I was clearly not.
Good for your soul.
Yes, right.
One final comment from me. I'm actually staying with my parents for a couple of days with the kids, and they're antique collectors, and they collect sort of all manner of artifacts and things, but they have a sort of penchant for collecting old toys, and I found this in their
That's
collection.
a good one. That's sniffer.
I think it kind of sums up exactly what Fisher-Price means, not just for our generation, but for generations gone by. You know, you look at this product and you know instantly it's going to be a fun thing for a kid to play with, and it's also stood the test of time. And you know, even as an antique, it's got a real, well, you can't really put a price on, you know, the company that makes this type of product, because you just want them to keep doing it, because you know, they enjoy. And I told my parents I was doing the call, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Fisher-Price, we know Fisher-Price, they're so good." And so it really does. It's 2 words that mean such a lot, and we want them to keep doing it.
That's awesome.
Perfect place to end. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay well, and I look forward to us all being in a room together.
Likewise.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much.
Take care.